So I'd like to just, talk about who you are to me, and why I wanted you here. Well, Eddie, let's see that cup. Is it one of Rose's cups?
This is just a paper cup that I just got at the cafe, but I'm just gonna. I'm just making it match yours.
There we go. Yeah, I remember when that first came about. Actually, while you were coaching me during that time together, Lucy.
I remember
doing a coaching session with Lucy, that came out, right? And I was like, could this ever, be a thing for me? And it's like, yeah, apparently so. So yes, so John, who is John to me? So John is my coach. He was my coach for a year and a half straight, and really drew out of me what I never knew existed. It was like I had a pipe dream of like a life that maybe one day I could imagine possibly happening, and actually helped me to create it. And I'll be forever grateful for that. In fact, I remember the time when I knew that I wanted to work with you. It was before we'd just been communicating by email a little bit, and you disappeared for a while. And you just sent me a message to say, look, something's happened and I can't get back to you now, but I will get back to you when I can. It was something personal that happened in your life. But you took the time to tell me that. And in that moment, I just saw how much you cared, and I was like, fuck, I'm working with you. I just didn't know how at that moment because we hadn't even talked about it, but I just knew that was going to happen. So that was a beautiful thing. So John, you taught me how to coach, really, how to coach my way, which was really cool. How to make money as a coach and make it successful. You supported me through some tough times with my family. And you supported me when I quit my job and went for it with, no safety net. Support me through my break. Obviously when I broke up with my girlfriend at the time and all that stuff that was happening at that extreme time. And supported me really, most importantly, in being able to be there for my family, my grandma, as you know, particularly, being able to live the life based around her, which, was, there's no words really for what that meant to me. And if it wasn't for you, that would not have happened. So that, and obviously since then we're still connected, and, I still love, anytime we spend time together, it's always powerful for me. So that's who you are to me. And the reason that I wanted to have this particular talk with you was because I went on that coaching day with you a few weeks ago, where you shared your concepts on love and power, on how there are different paths to power, the path of dark, which is the fear-based one, where you're taking from people and, where someone has to win and someone has to lose, or the light path, which is when everybody wins and you raise each other up, and that's how you create a fucking incredible life. And that's exactly the life that I'm leading now and living more into. And so what I thought would be really great was if I share the metaphor you use, which still is impacting my life, and then we just dive into sort of talking about it. So cool. Is that good with you? Cool.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, David, too. All that acknowledgement. It's just beautiful, man. I loved reliving that whole journey with you. It's been super. It's been as amazing for me. I know it's hard to believe as it is been for you. It's been to watch and be a part of.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I barely scratched the surface actually of what it truly means, but you can only say so much. So yeah, the metaphor that's still staying with me was regarding ways of being in the world, and the metaphor you created was about being on the ocean and about the power boating. So when you power boat, it's like you're owning. There's two seats in the power boat. There's an owner seat, which is in the driving seat, and there's a victim seat next to it. The victim seat is obviously just being driven around and having no control. And that's definitely where I was in my life for a long time. And then I moved across to the driver's seat, right? I'm owning this situation and I'm just going to I'm doing what it takes, but it's still fucking hard work. And I'm going against the tide, I was forcing things. And obviously when you're in a power boat, there's only so far you can go before you run out of fuel. Whereas when you're sailing, if you're in a sailboat, what you're doing is you just put the sail up. When the wind hits, you glide, and you can go around the world, and there's no limits. And I mean, I'm really experiencing that now. You know, after all that struggle I had with finances, with trying to make coaching work, with trying to create a life, like fucking hard work, like struggle, it felt like. So it's just effortless now. You know, it really is effortless. It's not always effortless because I still get caught up in my way of being. You know, sometimes I try and fight against the tide. However, there's definitely a beautiful effortlessness that comes, and that goes for creating a life of fulfillment, a life connectedness to the people that I love, and money and everything that comes with that. You know, it's not like it's one specific thing. It's everything. You know, and so that's the basic metaphor. And now what I do is when I find myself struggling a little bit, I'm like, oh, I'm trying to force this. You know, I'm trying to powerboat my way through. And then I try and take a step back and realize what would I be doing if I was just sailing? And I keep doing that. And when I do that, it becomes even more effortless. And I'm creating more than I ever have before as a result of that. Cool. So yeah, that's my what I took from the metaphor. And yeah, I'd love you to share some more of your perspective on that, and maybe dive into our personal experiences some more.
Wow, it's just really cool to hear you reflect back. I forgot about I remember that came up during the Love and Power event, the two different seats, the victim seat and the owner seat. That's a really cool part of it that I forgot about. I mean, you just nailed it, man. I don't have anything specific that I would add. Except that just to say that it's a continual exploration for me. I'm writing a series of articles right now on being a powerful coach, and I'm just checking in with that metaphor as I write each one, like each of the different principles. Like, well, how does this apply to this one? Because it's really easy to slip into that powerboating, kind of managing, controlling, trying to own everything mindset. I mean, it's a one that has created a lot of freedom in a way for me in my life. But then the thing that I've always found is that as soon as I've gotten freedom from that, then all of a sudden there's a new trap in it. Like the clearest example that I use is owning a house. I'm the owner of a house, and as soon as you own a house, for anybody that owns a house knows that thing owns you, because it's constantly being repaired and updated, and there's the taxes, and it's like responsibilities come with it. I think every form of ownership is that way, just not always obvious. So being free from it is the ultimate. That's a mindset, really, isn't it? It's just like, it doesn't mean you don't own property anymore, but you don't think about the ownership as the thing.
Obviously, you've done a hell of a lot of stuff in your time, you know, different businesses you've run, traveling the world. Can you share some times when although you've created from that place of powerboating, actually, when you create from a place of powerboating, it'd be a great place to start.
So much in my life, yeah. I mean, you know, and it's hard when you look back, because there's always sailing to some degree. There's always stuff that, you know, that I was doing because I was following the wind and because my focus was on powerboating in some other way, right? So like when I look back on my real estate business, there was the aspect of powerboating where I was like, I have to go and call this many people, and I have to go and do this many cold calling things or send out this many mailings, right? And that's like the powerboating thing. It's like, and then the fact that I was just being really interested in real estate and property and searching for properties in the newspaper because I was so curious what was going to be out there, and driving by properties because I was curious what I would see. Like when I think back, that following that curiosity is actually what led to me discovering the property deals that were the ones that I actually ended up buying and investing in and renovating and selling it. It wasn't like I was trying to drive it. It was born from my curiosity. I remember a house that I was interested in buying that I heard that might be coming on the market. And I was so curious before it is even on the market. I just drove by the house, and then I was so curious. I just went up the driveway, and there was a person in the yard. I was so curious. I just went and started talking to them. And then long story short, I ended up buying that property for much less than market value because I spent so much time connecting with the owner of the property that he wanted to sell it to me. But I was just going with that flow of curiosity. And then at that time, I wasn't so aware of it. And then I probably went back to the office and spent time trying to powerboat and make cold calls and stuff like that. And that probably yielded not less or nothing. But yeah, I haven't really thought about it that much. But it's interesting to think that we are actually always sailing on some level, because that's life. I was just writing yesterday, like, to try to do something other than sailing is like reminds me when I was a little kid, I used to go out into the woods behind my house, the forest, and I used to try to build little dams in the streams. And I try to dam the stream up and like control the thing. And of course the water would build up and then knock it down. And it's like that everywhere in nature, right? Everything that we make, that man makes, like hurricanes and tsunamis come and they just take it back. And I'm starting to get the sense that it's like that with this work, with any work. Like there's that, our deepest truth, or what we're curious about, what feels whole and what we love, like that's the river trying to just flow. And we can get in the way of it and just try to dam it up and control everything, but we might as well just go along with it, because it's going to take back the power anyway. So we might as well just access that power, I think.
So you said the power boating was like, you go back to your cold calling and you're doing all that you know to create a business. But there is a reality of, if you're in that role and you're like, obviously you have to generate business, right? How could you use that curiosity? How could you have used that curiosity from every day to create that, rather than power boating at all?
How could I use curiosity to create cold calling?
Yeah, it just seemed you were using curiosity.
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
How could I use? So the first step would be, well, if the first answer would be, well, if I'm not curious about it, then I can't use it, right? That would be like the obvious thing. Or if I am curious about it, then do it. But then the other question is, can we cultivate curiosity? And I think so. I think if we just start with the curiosity that you have, which is the curiosity about how could I bring curiosity to cold calling, right? And then you just follow that curiosity. Oh, I wonder what it is. I know for me, like one of the things, this will be relevant. One of the things is the way that I eat. My eating habits emerge from the things that I'm thinking about and that I care about because they're present in my life. And if I'm just spending all my time hanging out with people that are eating sugar, all of a sudden sugar becomes a high value to me and I enjoy it because it's also good. But if I spend my time thinking about, reading about, talking about healthy foods with people and about how sugar is not good for you or not, then that becomes my high value and I eat less sugar. And so my attention is always like, if I see myself starting to go away from the diet that I like to have, that makes me feel good, and I think, well, what can I do to stimulate my thinking in my world and my context to be so that I'm actually wanting other things, healthier things? And I think it's that same way, like, what could we do? How could I stimulate my curiosity around cold calling? What I would spend some time in my imagination about what the results might be. I'd probably get curious about what it would be like to do it as an adventure instead of a challenge or a test. Just because there's one of my apprentices, Melissa, she has this really beautiful way of every single time there's like something new to do or something bold or a challenge, she's like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens as a result of that challenge. She's much more excited by the surprise of what's going to happen as a result than she is concerned with the fact that she may or may not succeed. And that desire to be surprised, I think, is a beautiful way to engage with it too.
Yeah, I like that, a desire to be surprised.
Yeah, but let's go back to your question. What stands out? Did we even create an answer to that yet? How can we have
what's that?
How can we have more curiosity around? How can we bring curiosity to cold calling? See, the question's a bit difficult to answer because it's also a bit of a trap, because the question comes from a place of control. How can I make myself use curiosity to cold call?
Yeah. So power boating within that.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why it's difficult to answer. And this is exactly the fear of going all in with sailing, right? If I were to just completely let go, would anything happen? Would I be okay? Would I create? Would I produce? Would I be able to take care of myself? Would I make any money? Would I just like spiral into like despair and like as a broke, struggling artist, And I think it's an interesting question, and I don't think there's an answer, but I think it's worth exploring. I have a client right now who's an artist but uses a lot of control, or has used a lot of control to create her work, and she's exploring right now with doing the opposite. Absolutely no control, and just getting to know and just seeing what would happen if everything just emerged like she was sailing. And she's blown away by how much more productive she is. She just always feared it. So
Because for me, I'm definitely finding that in my business. You know, it's who I'm curious by, and it's or who I'm interested in, and if what kind of flow of conversation happens, and you know, things just. I mean, as an example of this, right? I've been doing this 100 days of dancing on, which is like me recording short videos.
Yeah,
What's that?
I've been watching some of them.
Yeah. So
Up when you scroll through on Facebook, it's like da da da, yeah, political stuff, yeah, and then David's like, autoplay.
yeah,
It's
but you
great.
know, it's mad, right? I started that just to kind of free myself, and then started getting impacted by it. So then I was helping them too, and I was kind of like we're helping each other, and it's kind of evolved, right? But I've had people reach out to me for coaching as a result of that. You know, it's like, are you crazy? I'm fucking dancing. Why? How does that work? But that's just, you know, again, that's just hitching a ride, right, on the wind. It's
That's
not
it.
actually trying anything. But I'm obviously quite far down the rabbit hole. You know, it's like I gave a talk a couple of weeks ago on how to sell with integrity and ease. And at one moment, I said, you know what, selling and, you know, making money through business is so. And there was someone there, and I said easy. And one of the people there was expecting me to say hard because that's what she'd heard. You know, it's hard to make money, it's hard to do business, and all this stuff. And it was easy, and then I was just so excited and buzzing about how easy it is. You know, you just impact up front again and again and again, invite people to pay, and it just happens, right? You know, I didn't believe this a year and a half ago. I was like, no, it's never going to happen, but it does, and it's very fucking simple. And we've got a question here from Rosie actually. She says, at the beginning of business, how can you sell when you don't already have clients?
Ah, there we go. Now we're getting closer.
And you
Let's
don't have
change.
and you
Rosie,
don't have
let's
people.
pretend Rosie's asking. I can read it too. Let's pretend Rosie's asking,
Yeah.
how can I sell when I don't already have clients? Not that that's her case, but let's pretend.
Mm,
And when I don't have people knowing me. So
mm,
now I'm just imagining this person that's like, oh my God, how can I sell? I don't already have clients. So that question comes from the idea that sailing is going with the wind of things that are happening in the outside world. Like if people are emailing, you just follow that breeze, follow that wind. Let that wind of those client coaching inquiries fill your sails and travel. And I think that's only half the wind, probably less than that. Most of the wind blows inside your soul. Most of the wind blows inside your gut and your balls and your ovaries and your heart and your mind. Most of the wind is your curiosity and what feels good or feels exciting for you. You know, so when there's no wind blowing outside, listen for the wind that's blowing on the inside. You know, you put that up in the air, yeah, like stick it in your ear or something. Like get in there and feel that wind. What is that? Does that make sense, David?
it does. It's still a little bit conceptual though.
Yeah, let's take it more.
Yeah.
Let's take it more specific then. So what would I do then if I were in that position? I'll keep it on me. If I didn't have any clients, so what would I do? I would listen to the wind, and what I would hear, probably going back to my web development business for some reason, what I would hear is that I just want to make a website for somebody. And so I would just start making a website, and I'd start talking about websites. I'd start whatever that thing is that's going on, whatever the wind is. I want to make websites. I want to design. I want to develop websites. And I would just take that. And the first step always is to bring that stuff that's going on inside and just bring it out my mouth. And I would start talking about it. Right? Instead of just keeping it a little secret, I'll just start expressing it, talking about it. I want to make websites. Who needs a website? Website. Then somebody's going to go, darn, website? And then we're going to have a conversation. There's going to be dialogue. Sparks will fly between two human beings. And from that sparking back and forth, some little flame will light. And then I'll be actually doing something. Maybe I'll make them a website, or maybe I'll help. And then all of a sudden, service begins. And creation begins, and things start to manifest in the world. And then as things manifest in the world, more people go, huh, websites. And then I say, oh, and then more sparks and more flames and more stuff. It just, there's the feeling, and there's the imagination, and then there's the words, and then there's the connection, and then there's the action, and there's the creation, and then there's more attention, and then there's more connection. So it begins.
Okay, yeah, that was fucking awesome.
Is that pragmatic enough?
That was fucking awesome. Yeah, it is that simple, isn't it? It's just if you want to do something, you just start. That's it. That's essentially what you're talking about.
Yeah, man, that's it.
Yeah.
But how do you start is the question I hear people asking. And my favorite answer to that is again, we're mentioning Lucy. Like Hyde again. I asked her how she begins her paintings when she couldn't figure out how to start a project. She said, I just start where it's most beautiful. And I love that. Like, what's the most beautiful feeling inside you? Start there. What's the most beautiful aspect of that thing? Start there.
So love and power. One of the other things that you shared with regards to that was it's kind of perfect for today because you've got the Star Wars, The Force Awakens, right?
Yeah, I can't.
And one of the things right. I haven't got any tickets booked, but I'll be seeing that soon, right? But it's perfect that we're speaking today because one of the things you're sharing was the different paths to power, the dark path and the light path.
Yeah.
So could you share something about your perspective on that?
Yeah, sure. It's still evolving. I'm creating it by sharing it, and it's nothing new. I mean, it's like you said, it's exactly the same thing in the Star Wars, and it's in so many things. And like for years and years, I've been since I started as a coach, I've been really like going on and on about this idea that if we're experiencing fear or anxiety during human relating, then we're in a place of acquisition and trying to get something, and that's total kryptonite to human connection. And I'm always talking about being totally in giving place or in a very open receiving place. That creates great human connection. And so I would say, like, coming from a place of fearlessness and love is a light path of being, and coming from a place of fear and separation is a dark path. And I see so much of this in the world now. There's so much of a dark path to power. I mean, the world is a real politic in the sense that, like, everything, the people who hold the most power are playing a zero-sum game, and the way to win in that game is to have more power than other people, is to play the status game, and you get that power by taking it from others, by convincing them to give it away through deception or whatever means necessary, and then as you get more power than other people, you can have more power in that game and be more effective in that game. But there's another path completely, and there's people that stand out throughout history that have walked that path. I mean, your Gandhis, your MLK, your Christ figures, your like those kinds of people who are committed to a principle of love and creation, as distinct from one of fear and survival, as their way of being. You can still create, and you can still lead, and you can still make something amazing. Now, typically, these people are, in the end, slaughtered by the real politic, or the dark side. But there's that eternal battle, right, between the light and the dark. And so I try to bring it down into, like, what in my actual life, in every single situation, every moment, like where is this battle showing up? And it's showing up when I get into a place of scarcity, like when I look at my bank account, like, oh man, the money's going down more than it's going up. Oh, I get nervous. And then it's like, therefore I have to go and get this or do that. The impetus for the action is fear. And if the impetus for the action is fear, then and that will infuse all of the action with fear. So therefore I'll try to go and get something from somebody by having more power than them or whatever. And so I'm always asking myself, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing it because I'm afraid, or am I doing it because I would love something for somebody else, or I'd love to experience something, or I'd love to create something, or because I'm like, curiosity is a form of love. And as I move into that, it just feels better, and it can be productive as well. The thing with the light path, I think it's a bit more of a long game. Like, it's not the path of survival, scarcity, fear is much more immediate. It's much more tit for tat. I do this and I get that action. There's a lot of certainty in it. Whereas in the path of the light path, it's like, I do these things and I let go, and I just wait and see what happens. And I allow for a lot of uncertainty and for, the universe to work itself out, and for the things to come back to me. So to be able to walk the light path more and more is stomaching more and more uncertainty, I think. In this business as a coach, it's about just serving loads and loads of people and trusting that it will come back to you somehow, some way, which you've seen. But in the beginning, it's tough to believe. I mean, it's tough I had 75 conversations in a row, and I had 75 people in a row say no to a coaching offer. And it's like, shit, at what point do you say, maybe this isn't working? And the only way you keep going, as you know, is like for you to have a sense that in your gut, following the path of light, you have more faith in the path of light than you do in the lack of results. And so you keep going, even though it seems insane. And then eventually it starts to work and you're like, shit, yeah, I knew it. And then you still can't convince anybody else to believe, because people have to experience it for themselves. There's something in that about having to experience it that I think is an important point too.
Yeah, there is definitely. I mean, I describe it like pushing out the tide. It's like you got to keep doing it. You know, every time you're helping someone, you're pushing out the tide, and you've got to keep doing it just for the love of doing it. And then eventually, it does reach this critical mass where it's like a fucking tsunami that comes back and washes over you not in a wrecking way, but in a beautiful way. And how I experienced that was literally everyone was looking at me, going, my family, as you know, my girlfriend at the time, and everyone's like, "What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is not going to work. How can you quit your job to do this thing that you've got no evidence that's going to work?
Right.
How can you do this? How can you pay your bills? You know, all this stuff, like not only my own fears, but like everyone else is being told on me, right?
Right.
Yeah. And all I had was
cloud descending on top of the whole thing.
Yeah, totally. And all I had was this, just knowing that in fact, what for me made a difference was obviously having my grandma as a focal point, because I had a reason, you know, that was important enough to create a life around. So for me, that was the most important thing. And then just believing that it would happen. I remember actually thinking that if it hasn't started to work by February, after I quit in October, February, then I'd start to look for part-time work. That's what in my mind I thought that, but that was never going to happen. It wasn't in my work, because of course the time invested to create that would have taken away from my life, my grandma, and everything, right? So there was no fucking way that was happening. It was burning a bridge, being all fucking in it, and doing it for the love purely. I was getting so much from impacting people and making a difference that you know what, the money thing, I knew eventually it would happen, just because if it works for other people, you know, it's going to work for me. But it's the love in itself, isn't it? That is how that happens. And also the thing that's come up for me is it's like you're at the 11th hour, right? It's like it's not working. It's like for me when I couldn't pay the mortgage and I almost got the house repossessed. It's fucking 11th hour, right? It's saying, look, your house is going to be repossessed. You can't pay in a week from now. And I had to accept in that moment, okay, then I go to court and maybe it gets repossessed and we lose the house. And it got to the 11th hour, and that freedom that was created from that, suddenly it's like the universe goes, I've just April Fools. Here you go. Here's the gift that, you know, I was just kidding. Here you go. Here's everything you wanted. And,
right.
You know, and you know, that's what it's like for me. That's my experience of the light path. You know?
Yeah, man. It's like that's Darth. You were facing the mortgage company was Darth Vader. You're just like up against the dark. And so, like, once you play the dragon, it's like boom, aha, here you go. Here's the gift. It was just all along. Yeah.
Yes.
You have to be willing to stand up to him or it and slay the dragon. And I love that about life. I love that like you don't get it for free. You know, that you have to face something to have it. It's cool. And I think that the whole coaching thing is more than just about people, you know, improving, getting more results and getting more material stuff in their life. Especially now, I think it's emerging like into part of the conversation that's changing the world. For me, I was speaking recently with a friend of mine who coaches World Bank leaders, directors of the World Bank, and we were agreeing that our coaching has an agenda. We have an agenda with our coaching. We have the coaching clients are actually just a conduit to something bigger. The way that we're impacting the world. And it's not like it's not a material agenda where like you have to do this way or that way. It's the philosophical agenda, the agenda of love, of light. Our agenda is to bring a loving, whole, open way of being to leadership, so that it can transmute through those leaders, and whichever way is true for them, into the world. That's absolutely my agenda with coaching. And so I want to absolutely change the world. Every single conversation I have, that's my intention. Like, I want to help you and the people here, but more than that, I want to transform them into being a little bit more loving and open and willing to sail, so that goes out to the world and makes the world more that way. And I think coaching's a way to get so much leverage. I've always loved leverage in every business. I studied physics. Like, I get to leverage through you, David, into your community, into all their communities, into the world through this conversation. There's a lot of power in that.
But for someone who wants to step out into the public domain and has a powerful message, and they want to do it through this path of light, I'm not quite sure how to form the question, really. It's just, if someone's terrified of getting their head chopped off, but they've got a powerful message to share, what would you say they could do about it?
What would I say they could do? But here's more of these fucking questions.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay.
How about, let's pretend it's you. Don't change it, because
okay.
No, let me challenge you
for
a second. You're asking me these questions like the I have a friend questions.
And it is, I have a friend, and she's on this call. It's Rosie.
Okay.
The only reason I said that is because she said that, she said, "Are you thinking of me?" It is, right? She's got some powerful shit that she can share. Some things that could make massive waves in when people, when they hear it, and and retaliation could happen, and she is scared of that.
Right.
So what would you say to Rosie about that?
Well, I would ask her questions. I wouldn't say anything to her. I would ask her things. I would ask her about, because look, don't get caught in this place of thinking that she should do that. Like that's what's also embedded in your questions, that she should do that. She should be able to do that. Like maybe not. Okay, like there's nobody that says anybody should be able to do anything. I'd get really curious about what she wants. Does she want to save herself from being ridiculed, or does she want to get this out there? Like, what does she want more? And then I'd get really clear on what it is.
Yeah, it's not the ridicule. It's literally much worse than that. It's the fear of what could happen, not to be attacked. Yeah, as she's just said, physically attacked. That's the real fear. If it wasn't for that, she would be doing it. So with that kind of fear, how would she do, because like I say, it's not well formed, but how could she actually do what she would? Her heart is telling her.
Not that it's not well formed. It's that it's this intermediary, like conceptual pretend person. So either let me talk to Rosie, or let me talk to you about like it's not going to work this way. It's just because I'm trying to dialogue with an imaginary person and it's not happening.
Yeah. Okay.
So do you have something personal? Or
no, for me, I'm good with just doing my own thing and being ridiculed, and I'm good myself personally.
Why are you good with it? What's your answer?
For me personally, because I don't fear physical attack. I don't think that's going to happen. It's not in my world. For me, I have spent the past year and a half putting myself publicly, getting criticised, getting people saying stuff to me, and hardening my skin to that. I mean, for me, I
fear physical attack.
Pardon?
What if you did fear physical attack?
If I feared physical attack, we're conceptualizing it a bit, but I would find a way to protect myself physically. Is what I would, if I really wanted to say it, I would make sure I could protect myself. That's what I would do. So
when you fear physical attack, what do you want?
To not be hurt, to not die, to not die by getting attacked.
When you want to not die, what do you want?
To live free.
So you want to live and you want to be free. What else?
Yeah. Just want to be able to do and say what the fuck I want when I want, for what matters to me.
Good. So you want to be able to live, you want to be free, and be able to say whatever the fuck you want, whenever you want.
Yeah.
Create that. That's the focus. When you're like, I want to speak and say these things, but I don't want to get hurt and I don't want to die, then you have like, I have to choose between these things. But when you get clear that what you actually want is to live, to stay safe, to share your things, then you have things that you want. That's all stuff that you want, not something you want, something you don't want. That's not something those aren't things to choose between. That's something to create. So how could you create sharing whatever the fuck you want and staying safe and staying alive?
Yeah, I suppose just start by sharing it in somewhere that feels safe or somewhere that feels good. rather than safe.
Create
Somewhere that feels good.
safety.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it doesn't have to be anything, does it? It doesn't have to be a certain way. It doesn't have to be massively public, or it doesn't even have to be my face or doing it, right? It's about the message rather than the messenger as such. So it's about actually taking action and starting. So it's just, in fact, it's very similar to what you mentioned about before, right? About when you've got no clients, how do you create clients? You just fucking start. You just, yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that. I mean, I get what you're saying. It doesn't have to be anything, and I agree. But there's also the possibility that it could be at the scale that you thought was risky or dangerous, or you might die or get hurt at that scale, or even bigger. But also being safe instead of dangerous because of what you do and how you do it and why you're doing it. I'm doing this. I'm creating all of these things instead of creating this as a risk. Risk is inherent in everything in life, right? I mean, I'm about to have a baby in 3 months. My wife's pregnant, and I'm just silly things and like come up to them like, oh my God, we live on this main street. What if I go across the street and get run over by a car while I'm carrying the baby? Like, stupid, why would I get run over by a car? And it's like, if I focus on that, I'm like, my whole life and the whole baby's whole life is going to be infused with like trying to avoid shit. What do I want? I want to stay safe. How am I going to create that? I'm going to start not using my phone when I'm walking so that I'm not distracted and then I'm not walking out into traffic. I'm going to do this. How can I create safety and protection? Not as because I'm afraid I'm going to die, but because that's what I want to live. It's a very subtle distinction, but it's a very important one, because the first is, how do I not die, is constricting and confining, and it crushes creativity and it stops action. But how can I create safe? How can I live? That feeds curiosity, and it feeds imagination, and it breeds action. So we got to an answer now that as soon as you made it personal, I was able to access. I think it's an issue that I have. When you're making it conceptual, my brain just goes, you made it personal. I was like, tick, 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 tick. That was a lot easier. So thank you for humoring me. And sorry for the bumpy ride to get there.
Hey, I'm used to that. Okay. I've got a question on the left, actually, from
Cool.
Josie. Any tips for how to guide people onto the light path instead of the dark when they are already in a very dark place, e.g. depression? So if I was to make, shall I make that personal to me?
Yeah, that's just like good.
So I can go back a few years actually to how it was. So, you know, I'm doing the same fucking thing every day. Life feels pretty flat. I'm depressed. I don't want to do anything. I've got people in my life that I hang around with and do stuff with, but I'm not really there. Is there anything you can do for me, even though I'm not necessarily wanting anything done, because I'm just stuck?
I don't know what to do for you. The first thing to do is to get off of the dark path myself, because as soon as I'm on it, what can I do for you to make you to the light path? It's like I can't do that from here because I'm in the fucking powerboat seat trying to like drive you into sailing. It's not going to happen. That's the first step, is always being it. Like, and that's just like, what if I was to let go and just sail and just be with this person and just follow my curiosity and follow what I love? What emerges from there? And people that are in the powerboat seat, because I know this very well, fucking hate that answer. Like, that's not a fucking answer. That's like, you should be a politician. That's not an answer. And it's not an answer if you want control. It's not. But this is the point. It starts with you. And one of my core principles is that coaching, the impact of our coaching is much more who we be and who we're being than it is what we do or say. So that's the first thing. And so if I were to imagine right now that was you, and I was doing that effectively, I'm not saying always do, but if I did, curiosity would be the first thing. Curiosity and compassion. And I would be, the first thing that's coming to when I was hearing you talk is it's like you're in complete darkness, and I'm curious if you were to look up at the sky and there were to be a single star, a little tiny bit of light, what would that be? And I would just get curious about, if you were to look around to see that, what it would be for you. And then I would just probably get really curious about what it would take for you to move towards that little piece of light, because moving towards light is where we can find more of it, and it gets brighter always. And I would just walk with you on that journey until you saw that, and then I would, do my best to get excited about that and just transfer that excitement into you, and feed you a little bit, and and then see what comes from there. It's really easy. Like, my mind starts to go to all the structure control bits. Like, you could do exercise, you could get a dog, like all the things that you could do to control yourself. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't work. It absolutely works. And I'm not even saying to never use it. Absolutely use it. I'm not somebody that's like, I don't know. I shouldn't even say if I know yet, if I'm 100% sold on the idea that we should be all sailing all the time. I don't know. If that's right. I've been listening to some Byron Katie stuff right now, and she's pretty much all sailing all the time, to the point where if somebody put a gun in her stomach, she's gonna, just gonna love what is. And it's like, I'm not sure if that's how I am yet. I'm still kind of attached to the experience of my physical existence, to the point where there would be instances where I would resort to a survival dark path thing. Just looking out for my physical survival so that I continue to sail in this physical world. But if you identify with more than your physical self, maybe that's not your thing. What the fuck was I talking about a minute ago?
about getting curious about someone's light and maybe walking towards the light without trying to force it.
That's what I usually do. I also don't buy into the whole depression thing either. It's just it's an identification label that it serves, that constricts more than it serves. Finds more than it serves. So yeah.
And there's also a reality of there may be nothing, right? No matter what you do, no matter how inspiring or how curious you get, it may do nothing for that person. The person may stay where they are because they're attached to being where they are.
Yeah, even if you're trying to control and be the powerboat, it still could do nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's fucking hard when you care about that person, but the reality is you cannot make anyone do anything, ever.
Yeah, it's harder when you care about them, absolutely. Because you get attached, and then you think you're trying to help them, but you're really trying to help yourself because you can't stomach the fact that they're not happy.
Yeah.
And then just actually end up making it worse because you're in your attachment, or I'm just thinking when I do that, I'm in my own attachment with my wife, and she's in a bad mood, then I get attached to her not being in a bad mood because I can't really accept that she's not in a good mood, and then all of a sudden I make her in a worse mood, but I don't realize it until later, so I have to go back and apologize.
Yeah, that happens quite regularly for me too with different people in my life. Yeah. It's fucking hard, especially when you just want it to flick a switch and like you say, to be seeing the light.
Okay. And I think all these stories about I woke up one day and I was enlightened is like, it really doesn't serve people. I don't even think it's true, first of all. I think maybe somebody had an insight, but it doesn't work like that. Because the reality is it takes practice, it takes work. Right before this call, I was doing the work of Byron Katie for a half hour with breakfast in the cafe, and I go to see Marianne Williamson speak on the Course in Miracles, and she just gives people every single week. Somebody raises their hand and asks like, "Oh, so I had this insight. How come it's still hard for me?" She's like, "Have you been doing the lessons and have you been doing the exercises?" I've been doing it for 30 years, every day. It takes work. It takes practice, but I'm learning to really love that journey. Really learning to really love that journey of the work that it takes to be in that way of being, to sail more often.
Yeah, and it is life's work, isn't it?
It is life's work, yeah. Maybe longer than that, who knows?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, would be.
Yeah, I'd love that. Cool. Okay, I think that.
Any other questions down there?
No, I think we're done with I think that's just Josie saying curiosity and compassion rather than control.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. For a vet monkey.
Yeah, that's Josie. She's my incredible client in South Africa who's got the Verbit Monkey Foundation.
Oh, wow, awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, she's doing some really great work there, not just with the monkeys too, but with people there about stopping them, because they kill monkeys out there because they don't understand. And she's battling quite a lot out there, but she's doing some great work.
Beautiful. That's awesome, Josie.
So yeah, I think we're good actually. I think you've covered some amazing stuff, and yeah, thank you for showing up and just. And I loved it when once we get specific, bang, you're there, and
I know.
it's just an outpouring.
It was a really interesting reveal
Mm,
to me because I was a little bit like, oh,
mm,
I don't want to don't want to be a dick or make this hard, but I don't want
mm,
to just, I felt myself, I can feel, I've been really learning to feel
mm,
where I am in my body, and I could feel energy going up to my head. And that was
mm,
like an alarm bell for me. I didn't want to try to muscle through it and powerboat and bullshit my way through. It's
mm,
just, so thanks I projected a little bit
mm,
of energy towards you when I was challenging you. So
mm,
thanks for hand holding that and
mm.
for us getting to a really creative space together. It was cool.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, it's like I say, it's the second one I've done. It's great. It's evolving, right? And that's another thing, right? I love being challenged because I grow every time. So thank you for doing that. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it wouldn't have been as powerful if you tried to force it either, right? Especially
Right.
considering the topic.
Right.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
thank you very much, John.
Welcome. I
Uh,
love you.
yeah, I love you too, John. And yeah, I look forward. And good luck with your family this Christmas, right? 3 months, and your fucking world will never be the same again.
Come mid-March. Yeah, my world's going to be complete.
Yeah. Yeah, a little John running around, right?
No, I've had enough Johns in my family, so we'll be naming him something else.
But a little boy, right?
Little boy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Oh, well,
All
thank
right.
you, John.
Much love,
Okay,
man. See you
take care.
guys. Bye.